Well, good to be about that time of year again here at Tucson Acres and just about everywhere up north. I've got a little train going on in the background. I live about a quarter mile from the tracks. Train only goes by like once a week. Perfect timing, right? Anyway, it actually kind of pains me to fire up the boiler right now. I was hoping to go another month at least without firing up the boiler. But we're having a Halloween party tomorrow night here in the barn. And I would like it to be around 70 degrees in here, which this can easily do, the boiler can easily do, except it's only for one night, you know, and it's going to take me probably half a face cord to heat this thing up. But I'll show a quick snapshot. I just looked at my phone a few minutes ago and I took a snapshot of the weekly weather here, and it's like 66 right now, which for us in northern Michigan in the end of October is really warm. But starting tonight, it's going to be down to 36 tonight, and basically for the next 2 weeks in my forecast, it's like low 40s daytime high, upper 20s daytime or nighttime high or low, however you want to look at it. So I'm going to fire it up. The rain just kind of settled off for a second. Let me grab my torch and some cardboard, which I already basically got everything set in there. This was just a box I had laying around. Figured I'd get rid of it. It's a little more dry than some of the stuff I keep out here. So this is a 4 foot by 4 foot by 4 foot tri-wall box that I keep out here. I probably should roll my tarps down, but yeah, I figured I'd just make this video. I know there's lots of videos out on boilers now, lots of newcomers all the time to the world. So this will be my first start of the year. I put my base layer down, kind of like a top-down fire method. I mix it up a little bit, but got my base layer of the bigger logs, then some cardboard and some kindling spread throughout on top, and it'll start up real quick. Stuff this stuff in here just kind of randomly. Don't need a ton. Now I'm not looking for a monster fire, especially with the temperature being 66 degrees outside. Last year I started up on November 11th. Now I did fire it up once, I think it was the last week of September, just because I had family up here and we had a cold snap. And they were staying in the basement, and the basement doesn't have any sort of heat other than the boiler. There's no forced air there. I suppose you guys can watch this. I just hit a few spots, get it kind of going. It'll spread pretty quick once it's going. So the dampener's open. I can probably set this down. Yeah, there we go. So I got the damper opened up. I already checked the pumps. They're rolling for both the house and the barn. I haven't checked the panel yet, which is kind of silly. It's like the main control mechanism. I'm talking about the control panel for the actual boiler on the side of the boiler. And I love this torch. All right, get this out of here. So that's opened up. Let's take a look at our control panel. Water's at 53 degrees. This is a Woodmaster 6500. Big boy. Check our light. Yeah, that works. Fans. Oh, I got to do a reset on it. Okay, low alarm. So the low alarm is now reset. So I'm just going to let it start on its own, just naturally breathe for a few minutes until things start taking off, and then I'll go ahead and turn the fans on. So we'll be back then. All right, so I figure while that thing's starting up outside, I'd show you the inside again. I actually got a couple questions about this. Well, several questions over the past year and a half, but it always happens in the fall. People start, looking into their boilers or wanting to get a boiler or whatever, setting up a new system. So this is how I have my barn set up. I've got 2 manifolds. This is the in, this is the out, into the floor. Now there's 8 zones. And you can adjust the pressure in the zone, well, the flow rate rather, with these guys up here or these. It doesn't matter. These are more like shutoff valves. Now I have a 50-50 glycol water mix in the floor. I haven't had it plugged in since probably June. I think I unplugged it. So I have a single zone power supply that feeds our Grundfos 1558. I've gotten that question several times. Come on, zoom. Well, anyway, Grundfos 1558 is the model number on that. I think this is a 2.5 gallon Amtrol tank, 12 psi. Where does it say? EX30, so maybe that's a 3 gallon. Well, EX30 is at least the model number, so you can see that. I've got a 40 plate heat exchanger in here, or plate exchanger. And it does the job great. I need to try to separate this a little bit more. I don't want them actually touching. It's not the end of the world, but that's fine there. You can hear, this is how I check my pumps to make sure my pumps are running. You can hear it start to restrict the flow going through there. And also I can tell because it's sweating right now. So that tells me that the water circulating through it, that's been in the tank outside, is much cooler than the water that's been in here. Like over here, it's not sweating, and over by this, it has. There it is. And the pumps for the boiler have only been on for about 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30. All right, let's plug this guy in and see what it looks like. Where is it? There it is. Okay. And I'm controlling it with just an old school thermostat. Right now I just have it set all the way down. We'll crank it up, and right now it's telling me that it's 60 degrees in here, so once the temperature called for gets above 60, the pump should kick on. There it goes. And I usually do this just to let it cycle. Like right now, the water coming out of the boiler is actually colder than the water in the floor. Let's see, yeah, 58 some odd degrees, whereas you saw the temperature outside, it was reading 53. So I just do this for a minute or two to let it cycle the glycol and get all the air out of the system. I have this aerator up here. I put it at the highest point in the system. Should be recommended. Your pump should be horizontal to the floor. Doesn't matter if the pump is orientated this way or this way, as long as the motor is horizontal to the floor, all right, or parallel to the floor. I've had some people say, you should have this vertical. No, it's mostly just having the pump vertical to the floor. I've talked to a couple different specialists about this, and that's the consensus. And you should also have your pump a couple feet upstream. Well, I guess it would be, pulling from your tank, all right? That's a big issue there that most people don't understand. Even my house is set up backwards of that. You want your pressure tank behind the pump so that it pulls from the tank. And there's a YouTube video, I'll link it in the description, talking about cavitation, because these pumps are just circulator pumps. They don't really put out a whole lot of pressure. But when you start pushing through the system, it's really weird how the physics of that works. And this video that I'll put the link in the description. What's it called? Something. I'll put a little blip up here in the screen so you can see that. But it explains and shows, like with clear tubing, why you want your pump after the tank so that it pulls water from the tank side and pushes it through your system. Doesn't matter if it's like my in-floor barn system or in a house. All right, let's go out and check the, I'm going to turn this back down. We'll go out and check on the fire. Okay. Getting a little smoke. We're chooching along. That's a good sign. take a peek. Oh yeah. So I'm assuming my kindling is started. I'm gonna go ahead and throw that there. I'm just gonna close this just a smidge, not all the way. We'll kick our fans on. All right, now I have 3 fans, 2 up front and 1 in the back. The one in the back, I'm not gonna be able to see it, but there's a tube sticking out way up there that directs air in. I can check these ones here. Yep, I got air here. I got air here, and you want to check that because they have these baffles on these fans. That clicking you hear when you turn the fans on. It's not the fan starting, it's the solenoid that pulls up this rubber baffle that's blocking the intake to the fan. So air comes up through here, then goes into the back side of the fan, which is closed by a rubber baffle. So you pop that up. You know what? Let's just take a look real quick. That way you can see what I'm talking about. And this is one of those annual things that you should have serviced if you don't service it yourself. Now I swapped everything out when I installed this boiler. This boiler was used when I bought it. It's a 2008 model, and this is 2023. So it's one of those things that, you know, I keep up on this stuff, but if you're not the mechanic or the plumber or whatever, then you're gonna want this checked out by somebody. I've gone a couple days before not realizing, see, look at that. We got a whole nest in here. I'll be dang. That must have been from this summer. Tell you what, they were bad up here this year, but it's the end of the season. All right, so here's that rubber baffle I was talking about. The air comes up and around. This is the big solenoid. That's the popping sound you hear. So I'll go ahead and hit the fans or the switch. Bingo. That's it. So you want to check these annually to make sure that you're getting, or that's actually opening. I've had these springs pop off. You know, having 3 fans, my unit will keep blowing air in there even if one of them or even 2 of them isn't working. I will notice a little degradation, but not a lot. So I've had it before where the spring popped off. I've had the baffle not work. I've had the solenoid not work. So definitely want to check that. That's why I put my hand under the door to feel if it's blowing air out or not. Some good smoke. Let's see, temperature 1 degree so far. Yes, buddy. Come here. Oh yeah. So that's about it. You know, this is my third season heating with this boiler, and I really like it. The heat is so nice. Every room in the house has its own radiant register, you know, along the floorboards, baseboard radiant heaters with their own thermostat. The barn, it's so nice. You know, whether I got to work on the plow truck or the tractor or anything, or even just come out here to tinker and do projects. You know, now granted, when you've got in-floor like this barn, it takes on average, I'd say 15 to 20 hours to really get up to temperature. You know, the thermal mass in here is incredible. You know, I've got around 6 inches thick of concrete, and it's a 40 by 60 barn. So it does take a while. If you want to warm it up, plan ahead. That's actually what, well, I'd said that earlier. That's why I'm doing this right now when it's 66 degrees outside. It kills me. But it's either that or it won't be warm tomorrow. It's going to be freezing in here tomorrow, and I won't be able to warm it up quick enough for the party. So anyway, hey, if you got any other questions about, you know, the setup here or outside or even in the house, my house, I've got separate videos for each, but the setup in the house is very unique. I plumbed into a existing LP boiler. That's what the house was originally set up with. So I went ahead and plumbed in a plate exchanger in the loop of the LP boiler system. and I just keep the gas turned off for the LP boiler, and the rest of it just works. I didn't have to install any extra circulator pumps. That took a lot of, that's actually one of the main reasons between the barn and the house, figuring out how to plumb these things in. That's why I started my YouTube channel. So if you do have any other questions, feel free to, post it down in the comments, and I will definitely take a look at it and help you out any way I can. Let you know where I bought parts from. I both got parts locally and through online, like my dual manifolds up there that came off of Amazon. This plate exchanger and that pump and this tank all came from a local plumbing supply store in town. A lot of stuff I ordered from Z Supply, Matt something or other off of zsupply.com. I think that's what it's called. I'll double check. And all the pricing is honestly pretty similar. And there's a lot of debate about the central boiler, foam filled PEX, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not going to say it's bad, but for me, the cost is just outrageous. And I know a lot of people, buy once, cry once. I'm a huge proponent of that. I really am. But the stuff is next to impossible to bend. So if you got to go around, like going from I went 6 feet down in the ground, but even at 2 to 3 feet down, and when you got to curve it up, it's so hard to work with it. It's so hard to uncoil. It's just, to me, it doesn't justify the cost. Like I want to say 20 something a foot, and I had to run over pretty close to 200 feet total. Well, I bought 200 feet. I only ran about 180 feet, I think, approximately. And, going up from 6 feet down, coming straight up and all that crap. Could you imagine 200 feet at over $20 a foot? The stuff I bought was, I think, $10 a foot. And I mean, still, that was $2,000. That's insane to me. I just can't imagine spending that much more for a product that, is it going to last you the rest of your life? I don't think so. I mean, as long as you keep this, foam wrap, or not foam, the bubble wrap stuff, I put it 6 feet down because I have a huge chunk of it running through the driveway over here. And I made a video. It was, basically a collage of photos, or a slideshow of photos, but I go through the driveway over here, and I keep that plowed throughout the winter. And if it's sub-zero temps for a couple months on end, we'll have frost lines 3, 4, 5 feet down. I got a buddy who lives just like 6-7 miles from here, who lives closer to a lake, and he's had to dig his lines up several times because they were even 4 or 5 feet down. They were freezing. I'm not going to deal with that. So I put mine 6 feet down. It basically never gets that cold down there, at least while I'm using the boiler. So I don't have to worry about it. And you make sure that your lines are properly capped at both ends and they can't get wet, and you don't have ingress. And when at the bottom of my ditch, I made sure there was no rocks. I put down, around here anyway, in northern Michigan, once you get past about 2 to 3 feet, it turns into beach sand. Super nice, literally like beach sand, no big rocks at all, not even little rocks. So at the bottom of the ditch, I made sure it was nice and clean, good soft sand. And I put the line in it, and I hand buried the line about a foot deep all the way, the whole thing, that way to make 100% sure that there was nothing on my line that could damage it. Now granted, being 6 feet down, it'd be hard to damage it anyway, but I wanted to make sure. In theory, I should never have to touch this again. I put 1.25 inches, 6 feet down. It's the edge of it is double wrapped. Actually, I have pieces of it. Let me show you. All right, so here's a piece of it left over. Actually, that's the 15, 20 feet that's left over altogether that's still intact. But this is the outer casing of it. You've got the outer corrugated stuff, and you've got an extra layer of some sort of poly material in here. And I just can't imagine this going bad. I really can't. And if it does, then I'm going to pay the price. And that'll be, on me. And I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm not saying anybody should get one thing or the other. I haven't heard of anybody that's had a problem with this stuff when used properly. to justify needing that more expensive stuff. Just doesn't make sense to me. Man, what do they call that stuff? Gonna drive me nuts. All right, we'll take one more quick look at the boiler. Basically, all the smoke's gone, so that tells me the fire's going pretty good. That didn't take very long at all. It's already up to 57. Yeah, so at least the wood is starting to go now. Oh yeah, she's going. Cool beans. All right, hey, thanks for watching. Keep yanking on them bootstraps. Catch you on the next video.